Okay, today was our last scrimmage. So we've had 2 full scrimmages and had a situational scrimmage last week. Everything kind of built into today. So we're 2.5 weeks out. This was a big day for a lot of guys, and just proving that, you know, they're ready. You know, we're looking for as many dependable, functionable guys that can go in for us as we can find. And you know, today was a fun day. It really was, to see these guys compete. We mixed it up a lot. We obviously had some open field stuff, but we kind of got all the field zones. Had some really good 2-minute work today. And then we had about 7 or 8 unique game-specific situations that we really needed to challenge ourselves on today, both coaches and the players. But overall, a lot of good things, and then a lot of special teams work mixed in today with also some special situations, special teams wise. So really good day. I think we came through it pretty healthy. Unfortunately, I think Luke Price got hurt, so I don't know the extent of his injury. I think he was the only one, made an unbelievable catch in a 2-minute drill, and actually got up, but just found out after practice that he was hurt. So, but other than that, I think that we came through it pretty good. Had a lot of guys make some big plays today on both sides. I was impressed with our corners tackling, in particular Booth. I thought he had, you know, maybe his best day. He made some really good open field tackles. Defensively, we created the most turnovers that we have in camp today. I think we had 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery. Malcolm Greene had a couple interceptions. R.J. Mickens had 1. Nolan Turner had a great fumble recovery. Flip side of that, offensively, we put the ball on the ground too much. And didn't think our tempo was quite as good offensively as far as just throughout the day, but really like where we are as a team. I think I was just telling these guys, you know, we play in 2.5 weeks, and both sides have really made a lot of strides. I love, you know, the progression that we've had in camp. This week has still been all about Clemson, and so this was kind of building again to this day. Tomorrow is going to be a lighter day from a physical standpoint, but we got a lot of teaching to do, especially off this tape. So we'll have a little longer meeting time tomorrow, a little shorter practice, and then these guys will have a couple days off this weekend, and then come Monday we'll start game prep. So, you know, we're super excited about, you know, turning the page and start looking at an opponent. We got to start kind of making some decisions. You know, as a staff, obviously, you know, everybody don't have to worry about the redshirt stuff anymore, but you still have travel restrictions, and you got to get the depth chart set. So we still got some decisions that we have to make, and so this tape will be very beneficial for us as we evaluate. But again, a lot of good things on both sides. Probably the other thing that was a little bit disappointing today was just penalties. Too many penalties. Just some sloppy penalties, a couple offsides, a couple personal fouls, and some discipline type penalties that we got to clean up. But a very productive day from a teaching standpoint, and you know, hopefully this is one of those days that down the road as we go throughout the season, some of these things that we installed and talked about, because they're going to come up, we can have the type of recall that we're going to need in those situations.
Coach Trevor Groves, CUTigers.com here. You kind of alluded to it there, the new eligibility rule. I imagine it has some pros and cons to it. How much of a challenge will it be to manage your roster, your recruiting numbers, and so forth? And will it affect your redshirt decisions as you normally make them? For example, Xavier Thomas, do you anticipate playing him more than 4 games now?
Yes, yes, and yes. And on all those fronts, it's definitely going to be you know, challenging moving forward on how it's all going to shake out. But it's the right thing. It's the right thing to do for these players all across the country. So, you know, we'll figure out all the complexities of it, you know, later. I don't really know right now, you know, how that is going to shake out, because basically everybody on your roster that's on the team in 2020 basically has another year. So basically your freshmen have 5 years to play 5. Your redshirt juniors, redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores, redshirt juniors technically could get 6 years. if they wanted it. Now, not everybody's going to do that. And so you manage that as you go through it. But I have a lot of questions and there's a lot of unknowns as far as how we will manage it on the back end, how things are going to count, mid-years, all that. There's a lot of questions. But at the end of the day, it was the right decision. I'm super happy for our guys. The freshmen coming to college, they're excited about their experience. And this is going to be a different experience. The seniors, their last year. So I think they got it right. And it is going to create some complexities on the back end. But it was definitely the right thing to do. As far as a guy like Xavier Thomas, absolutely, man. We knew he was going to be ready, and he's actually doing well. But we knew he would be ready here at some point when we worked him back into practice. But our plan was to try to hold him and get him ready for the latter part of the season. So now we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, if he can get back and play whenever he's ready to go, if he played 5 games, 7 games, 8 games, it doesn't matter. The objective is still going to be served, but he still has to be ready. He still is a work in progress, but he's doing really well. He's really doing the things. He's responding well to everything and been very engaged. So been pleased with him. And there's a bunch of guys that I think will have the opportunity to really benefit from that extra year. A bunch of guys. So we'll see how it all shakes out, down the road. But it definitely will create some challenges.
Hey, Coach, it's David. I think it's interesting that with somebody like Will, he could come back next year if he wanted to. If you had a chance to talk to him about that,
Which Will? We've got like 10 of them.
Will Swinney, yeah. Will Spires too. There's a number of guys that, if they wanted to, could come back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really cool, And I know for a guy like Will, man, he just loves to play. He loves to grind. He loves to prepare. He loves to train. He's usually always one of the last 2 or 3 off the field. He loves every second of being a football player and working to be the best version of himself. And so I know for me, I got to play 5 years at Alabama, and I'd have played 6 if they'd have let me, because there was nowhere else to play. So I certainly would have kept on playing because I felt like I was the best I had ever been. And now you're done. You can't play anymore. So we'll have several guys that I think that will fit that criteria. My man Trepper's got 3 more years. This is just a freebie. He's got 3 more years to come back. So it'll be fun to see how it all shake out. But I think it's, like I said, the right thing and very beneficial for these guys moving forward in their career. And there's a lot of guys. I think of a guy like Mario Goodrich, who's battled some injuries and things like that. Now he's got a chance to kind of, catch up a little bit and still have his, 2 more years or whatever it is, counting this year. So if he wanted it. And so I just think it's great flexibility, for the roster. Challenging and complicating for the guy who's managing the roster, but I'm excited for these guys.
Hey, Dabo, David Hale with ESPN. I know, I'm sure you've seen that NC State had to postpone their opener due to some virus-related stuff. I'm just curious, beyond just the people that might test positive, the contact tracing that comes into that, has your approach been different as you've gone through practices and scrimmages in terms of both keeping groups separate and trying to build more depth just in case you have, a number of O linemen or D linemen that are out because of contact tracing or something along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. We fortunately for us, we've always, as far as how we've prepared, I think we're probably one of the most equipped teams for a situation like this because we've always prepared a lot of guys. That's something we've always taken a lot of pride in. We rep 3 groups. We cross-train lots of guys. We teach everybody to play every receiver position. Robbie cross-trains all the OL. I've got a punter working at quarterback as an emergency guy. We got all kind of things going on. We got D tackles that can play DN and backers that can do different things. So, but the biggest thing that we do is we rep a lot of guys. And I think we've led the nation the last 2 years in players per game. I think last year we played 76 players a game to lead the nation. I think the average in college football is about 45 guys a game. And so in the year before that, we played about 70 something a game. So our philosophy here has always been to develop our depth, to create selflessness, unselfish players, get everybody to buy into the concept of, hey, it's not how much you play, it's how you play. And if you earn it and you deserve it, we're not going to play you to play you, but if you deserve it, we're going to give you an opportunity to play. And I've always tried to get our second guys in there as early as possible. I think that creates confidence. It creates competition and really keeps guys engaged as you go through a season, especially your game plan. We always have, in the past, we've always had a great red shirt plan that we execute as coaches to keep those guys prepared and ready. And then obviously they came with the 4-game rule, whatever, last year, and that was awesome. So, yeah, I mean, definitely we're going to always have quality depth, and we're going to play guys that deserve to play. And I think that how we've always gone about our business in that regard will serve us well in this situation. And on that point, man, I tell you, I am so proud of our guys. So I gave them off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we tested. Now we're testing twice a week. So we tested Monday, and we had 0 positives. And we'll test again tomorrow. So we're testing twice a week. And then once we get into game week, we'll be testing 3 times a week, Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But we had 0 positives. And I'm just – what that really speaks to the commitment of our guys. They've really bought into what they have to do to manage their circle, to manage their own little bubble or whatever. And I'm just – I was just fired up when we got the results back on Tuesday from our guys after giving them 3 days. And they needed those days. They needed to rest and recover. And this has been going – these guys have been going since July the 6th. So we've been through a lot of meetings, a lot of installation, a lot of walkthroughs. Then you get into camp, and we're 3 weeks into camp. So 3 weeks of tackle football, rolling and hugging on each other, tackling each other. And our last few tests, we've had no positive. So, but then to give them off 3 days and for them to come back, that really tells me that they are doing what they need to do. So really proud of our guys. As far as how we meet, how we practice, how we room on the road, all those things, definitely things that we've got into consideration to give ourselves the best chance possible to have guys ready to go and not have close contact.
Hey, Dabo, Josh from the Post and Courier. On that last point about depth, do you have a plan for what you would do at a position like quarterback, where if it's say the virus would come through to all 4 guys? I mean, who would be your emergency non-quarterback quarterback in a situation like that? Yeah,
well, we've got 4 guys, and I'll tell you, this Hunter Helms kid, who's our preferred walk-on guy, he's a good little player, and he's picked things up better than I thought he would coming in. So we got those 4, but then we've got a couple other guys. Obviously, DK is an option for us if we needed a wildcat type quarterback. He's played quarterback. He understands ball handling, all those things. So we've got options, and that's our job as coaches to be prepared. And but the biggest thing we got to do is mitigate, close contact. Last thing you'd want to do is have to quarantine a whole position. So if that happens, then we've done a poor job. So we're going to do everything we can to not put ourselves in a situation where that would be the case.
Dabo, did you get a chance after this scrimmage to maybe really evaluate your rotations on both sides of the ball up front, offensive and defensive lines? Do you feel like you kind of know what that's going to look like now?
I think we're heading in that direction. We had a couple guys out today that I know will be in that rotation as far as once we get going. But come Monday, we have to really start. We're going to have a lot of guys that I think could go play, but once you start getting into game prep, you have to tighten things down when you get into a real game week, and the 20-hour rule, but 3 of those hours, it's really a 17-hour rule because 3 of those hours is game day. So once you get into the 17-hour prep time, it really, you have to be very efficient. And as far as who all you can rep gets cut down. So we've got to get the rotation dialed in. I love the depth that we have on both sides. As I said last time I talked to you guys, the biggest thing we have right now is just getting that depth in that second group of the offensive line. Getting Taquan back today was great, getting him back in there. Blake Benson is working his way back, so that's going to continue to be a shot in the arm for us. But just really getting that second group as functional as they can be, where they can be game ready and we can trust them. And Robbie's done a great job creating multiple guys that can snap, guards playing tackles going inside. So I think we're heading in the right direction, and it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress as we go through the season with that group. But defensive line wise, we're in a good spot.
Dabo, I think the last time we talked to you, there were lots of yellow jerseys last week. Can you update us on who is still limited and who's back and whatnot?
Yeah, that's what I told them the other day. We look like Georgia Tech running around out there, a bunch of yellow jackets. But we're in the best spot we've been. It's kind of, like I said, last week we were pretty beat up. Going as long as a couple of scrimmages and some physical practices and things, and so it was good to see them get a couple of days off. And I thought we've been in a much better place. The guys are kind of going from yellow to green, which means they're working back in practice. A guy like Booth who was out for a few days, and all of a sudden he's back out there today. Sage, getting him back going. He's back practicing now. As I said, Taquan's back in there. E.T. Rubin's back in there. So we're getting some guys back. We still got a few guys that are kind of, like Tyler Venables was out today, had a little hamstring strain. So we have some guys that, will pop up with things from time to time. But majority of the guys, I'm pleased with where we're going from a health standpoint. And, hopefully it'll just keep getting better.
Coach, I presume that Lyn-J was still out today. Was Chez back?
Chez is much better. He's still not quite back. Hopefully he'll be close come game time. Lyn-J is the same thing, man. He's looking really good, and is working hard on his strengthening and getting himself back ready to roll. But I anticipate next week hopefully Lyn-J will be able to ramp it up a little bit more.
Coach, Amari said yesterday that Andrew Booth really has been looking good when he's healthy out there. What are you seeing from him, not just from, standpoint of what he's done on the field, but maybe even more so from a maturity standpoint?
Yeah, I tell you, it's a good time to be the corner coach at Clemson. Mike Reed's done a great job of kind of building his room. We've just got a great group of guys, man. I'm super proud of all of them. DK's had a great camp. He's night and day from what he was last year. He was a good player playing on just sheer, athleticism and kind of learning as he went. You got to remember, he played quarterback his whole high school career and came in and played receiver as a freshman, and then boom, we just move him to corner, and he's playing on the biggest stage and really did a nice job. But he's a more complete player now, and I'm really excited about what he's done, what I've seen in camp. And then the rest of those guys, man, we got 6 other guys that I just love, man. Anthony Williams is a guy that maybe hasn't played as much yet, but I trust him. And I just think he is an incredibly committed kid that has worked his butt off to be able to help this team. But there's no question, man, those younger guys, they have a high end of talent, and I can't say enough about them. Sheridan Jones and Booth, those 2 guys, Fred and Mario, and Mario's a guy that's battled some injuries, and then Malcolm Greene is probably as good as we've signed. I mean, it's just a really good group, good people, very competitive. We got some guys that we're going to have some options with. So we're in the best place we've been in a long time at corner with that group. But Booth, from where he was last year to this year is night and day. I mean, he's just healthy, he's strong, he's so much more knowledgeable, he's very focused, and he's just confident. So I'm really proud of him. He did not have a great scrimmage the last time out, but he responded today. He really was one of those guys that caught my eye.
Dabo, this is Dean in Charleston. I know you're really proud of your paw journey concept. Do you think something like that would work well with regular college students, not just at Clemson, but at colleges all over the country, basically?
Oh, there's no question. Absolutely. And I love the fact that, people will come in and study our paw journey. And paw journey started October 13th, 2008, when I became interim. And literally, I had this guy that I'd been living next door to for 6 years that was working across campus somewhere, I think raising money. And it was late, but I went and knocked on his door and I said, hey, I get to be the head coach for 7 weeks. And here's my vision. This is the type of program I would want. And, at that time, I called it a player relations program. I said, if you go back to that time, nobody had real support staffs. It was 9 coaches, the head coach, a couple of GAs, and an operations guy. And what I experienced as an assistant that always resonated with me is, you're in meetings, you're game planning, you got all these things, but problems are always going on. Life is still happening. And man, I just always felt like kids didn't have enough outlets, places to go to talk about things. And not every coach, some coaches are maybe great coaches, but maybe they're not quite as equipped to deal with certain other life issues that a player may be having or whatever it may be. And I'd known Jeff for 6 years, and I told him, I said, here's my vision. This is what I would like. I just want somebody to coach life every day, and I want somebody to be available for the players that's not a coach. And so that's how it started. And then Jeff Davis, he took it from there. And man, he was a one-man shop for the first several years. And then we were able to start creating a team around him. Rashard Hall, Travis Blanks, Reggie Pleasant, Savannah Bailey. They're unbelievable. And they don't coach anything. All they do is coach life and create opportunities. They wake up every day, and their job is to serve our players and to create opportunities for them while they're here. Because, we always say life after football. Well, life's happening during football. And so create opportunities while they're here, but also create opportunities when they're gone and prepare them for that time. And then post-career, with Travis Blanks, we want them to be connected to everything that Clemson offers. So I just am super proud. And so when we built the building as Paul Journey, that was our vision of the new building. I wanted Paul Journey to be the first thing you see when you walk in the door is Paul Journey, because ultimately that's what our program is about. It's about graduation. It's about equipping our young men with the tools they need to be successful in life. It's helping them have a great experience, and it's winning. But it's in that order. And I love the fact that people come and they study Paul Journey. But it's one of those things that you can. Here's what we do and all those things, but it still comes down to the intentions of the people doing it. And I'm going to tell you what, man, Jeff Davis and his staff, they're some of the most beautiful people, spirited people you'll ever meet. And their intentions, and it resonates with our players. And it is the model for all of college football. There's no doubt in my mind. The career development, the micro internships, the resources available, the service trips abroad, you name it, just the educational pieces. It's literally a curriculum, if you will. It's an informal curriculum. What happens as a freshman? What happens as a sophomore? What happens as a junior? And how we go about getting these guys prepared and not letting football use them, but teaching them how to use football. So it's I think absolutely, it'd be great for anybody to have that type of model, whether it's just normal school students or any athletes. So we're blessed and we're fortunate, and I'm very thankful for all the people who support Paul Journey because it's a lot of programming and a lot of things that get poured into that.
Dabo, I know you said Justin's surgery went well. Do you have any update on whether or not, like I know at one point his football career might be in jeopardy, like any update on how he's looking as far as that? If any.
Well, all I can tell you is he looks amazing. I mean, it just does my heart it makes my heart feel good every day I get to come out and I'm watching him over there running. And I mean, he's running and he's catching balls and tennis balls and working on his craft and he's doing everything that he's allowed to do. And I'm just really, thankful that he's progressing like he is. And I'm just hopeful, that's all I can say is I'm hopeful and prayerful that he'll have his next big meeting. I think the big one is in like late December or early January, where he's going to have to go back to Pittsburgh and meet with Dr. Okonkwo. And, that'll be a big one. But he's ahead of where he hoped he would be and progressing well. So, that's the only update I can give you. And I'm just, like I say, we're all just, keeping our fingers crossed that he will keep progressing. And if you ask him how you feel, he's like, I feel great, so I don't think that's a bad thing.
Coach, how did, go ahead, Anna.
I was just curious how KJ Henry has looked so far and if he sort of claimed that in spot opposite Justyn. I know he was listed as a co-starter with Xavier, and that's kind of his spot now.
Yeah, KJ's had a great camp. He really has. He was actually out today. He's practiced every day, but today he was banged up. But he's had an excellent camp and definitely going to be a guy that I think is poised to have a great year.
Coach, how did
Is there
Frank
any
and Joe?
separation in between Tyson and DJ that you've seen? And then in the running back room, is there any separation going on there behind those first
Travis
couple of guys?
Travis Etienne is separated, man. It's going to be a lot of good spirited conversation, I'm sure. This tape's going to be big, because that's why you practice. You can only, we don't get preseason games, so you can only go on what you see at practice, and have to start making some decisions. And regardless of where you start, you got the next level of evaluation is game performance. So, we've got a lot of conversations. I can't wait to get the feedback from the coaches and get the answers to some of those questions on kind of what I see, what they see, and see where it goes. But the good news is we got good players. It's one thing when you're trying to decide between really good players and other than when you're trying to decide between, oh man, who's the least likely to get you beat type of thing. So we've got some guys that can go win.
Coach, how did Frank and Joe look today? And does Cornell still stand out even with those guys back on the field?
Oh yeah, Cornell's had a great camp. I mean, he really has. Every single day, he's been very consistent. You can't help but notice Joseph and Frank. And Joe was back today too. And he's another one you can't help but notice. He's not always going in the right direction, but man, you notice him. He's one of them. You got zip code receivers, and then you got area code receivers. I mean, that guy right there is just unbelievable. His potential. I've got a ways to go with it, but his potential is off the charts. But Joseph and Frank are special guys. I think Spector has had a tremendous camp. Amari has just been the best he's ever been. So we've got a really good group, and it's good to get them all back going. EJ had a huge play today in a 2-minute situation, about a 40-plus yard catch over the middle, clutch play to set up a winning field goal. That was a big moment for him. And so it's been good, but Frank is super fast and definitely been a big shot in the arm getting him back out there.
We'll take
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the special teams work. Can you update us on the progression of B.T. Potter and how he's looked since last year?
Yeah, BT's he's in another place confidence-wise as well. So it's always great to see guys mature and grow into their role, and to handle the adversity, to handle the success, and really just use both of those things to develop. And he's done that. I mean, I thought his momentum to finish the season last year really carried over into spring. And prior to spring getting canceled, I mean, he had only missed one field goal. And he's been really good. I think he's 80-something%, and he's had a bunch of competitive kicks. I mean, probably 60-something competitive kicks in our camp so far. He hit a couple game winners today. He's been very consistent. So I'm just really, really happy for him. And his body's in a great spot. He's worked really hard. It's amazing how these kickers, sometimes they don't want to buy into the weight room. But like Jonathan White's, he's another kid. You know, he's paid the price in the weight room, and their confidence grows through that. So just really like where he is, and he's hitting the ball well. I think he's poised to have a great year too.
Dabo, you said Malcolm Greene might be as good as y'all have signed. I think y'all have had some pretty good cornerbacks in the past. Can you elaborate on sort of specifically what you've seen out of him?
Yeah, he's just a baller. I mean, he's a baller. I mean, the guy just gets it. He knows how to play the game. He's fast. He's physical. He understands technique, and you know, a very multiple play. I mean, he could play anywhere. He really could. He's more of a true corner than Kayvon, but he's a lot like Kayvon. Ironically, they're from the same school. So let me just tell you, those guys do some coaching up there in Virginia, Highland Springs. They do a great job, because we've had two players, and both those guys from the day they got here were productive. And Malcolm is another guy like that. I mean, he's a true corner, but he can play the boundary. He can play the field. I mean, he could play nickel. He could play dime. He could play safety. He could play anything. But he's got a great knack for special teams. He's an excellent finisher on the ball, and, you know, knows how to stay in phase, and just does some things naturally that sometimes takes guys a little bit longer. And then physically, he's in such a great spot. And he's a brilliant kid. You know, he's already got an associate's degree. He showed up to Clemson with an associate's degree. So, I mean, it just goes to show you the type of work ethic that he has, the type of focus, and also the you know, how smart he is.
We'll take one final one for Coach.
Coach Swinney, this is Chandler Mack with WLTX. Just kind of shifting gears here on the national front, with several NBA teams deciding to boycott. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on the Jacob Blake incident, and just what conversations have you had with your players about the incident?
Well, I just came off practice field, so I don't know about the NBA stuff. But, you know, listen, we had a long conversation as a team about all of that. And it's just, you know, there's really no words, you know, to describe it, other than just incredibly disgusting and disappointing to see, you know, something like that take place. And, you know, if there is a positive, it's hard to find a positive, but if there is one, you know, hopefully the awareness that's been created, you know, since May, and the high alertness, if you will, you know, to make sure that people are held accountable and that things are done right. But it's just really, you just don't have any words for it.